Chapter 25. Happy artificial holiday with strong commercial overtones. Lee handed me a wrinkled white paper bag. She was wearing a shirt with a heart on it. I guess in honor of St. Valentine's Day, except it was a real heart. Happy that to you, too. I looked inside the bag and shook it a bit. Jelly beans. All black. I don't have anything for you. Reciprocity is not mandatory, she said. Now that would make a good t-shirt. On the way home, I offered Wesley some jelly beans. He shoved a handful in his mouth, took a couple chews, then spat them out the window. Where'd you get these? He asked. A girl I know. I flinched at the sight of his blackened teeth. I hate the black ones. He spat again, then lit a cigarette. I noticed his tongue was black, but I figured it wouldn't be good to point that out to him. Or laugh. The cast convinced Mr. Purchall to let us out early on Friday, so I got to go to the dance. It was exactly like the others. I needed to make a note for myself, or get a tattoo that says no dances. I stood around for 2 hours, trying to look like I was happy to be there. I got to watch Julia dance with Vernon. He was almost as graceless off the field as on. I hope he's as scoreless, too. But there was one small, bright moment. It looked like they were arguing. Julia even walked away from him for a while. I remembered Mom telling me that the smart girls got tired of the bad boys pretty quickly. But by the end of the dance, they were back together. Kyle was with the wrestlers. A bunch of girls were hanging around with them. After a while, Kyle and Kelly started talking. I thought about how easily Mitch had walked over to that girl in the cafeteria at the start of the year. Kyle didn't look comfortable. But he and Kelly kept talking. Then they started dancing. I guess I should have felt happy for him. He'd been dying to have a girlfriend ever since Mitch got one. Eventually, I wandered over to the snack table. Mouth was there, eating cheese doodles. Aren't you going to ask anyone to dance? I asked them all, he said. What? Every single girl. You sure? Positive. I've been keeping track since the first dance. I pretty much did it alphabetically, all the way through Diana Zoopstra. I ran out of girls to ask last month. I guess I could start at the beginning again with Mary Abernethy. Maybe that's not a bad idea. Do you think one of them could change her mind? What do you think? Oh, God, Mouth, I don't know. I have no idea what any girl on the planet will do. Not ever. You just can't predict how they will act. I thought about the story The Waltz. Even when the girl danced with the guy, he had no clue what was running through her mind. Mouth took a sip of his soda. You're right. There's no way to know, so it's possible someone will say yes. I hadn't thought of that. Thanks, Scott. He put down his soda and trotted across the gym. I hadn't meant to set him up for another round of humiliation. Wait, I called. But it was too late. He'd already gotten within range of Mary. There probably wasn't any way I could talk him out of it. I watched him get his first rejection of the evening. There was no school on Monday. It was President's Day. But we had rehearsal all morning. Given what happened to Lincoln in a theater, you'd think we'd get a break. No chance. I unloaded a ton of plywood and dozens of paint cans from a pickup truck. At least the rest of the crew joined in the painting. On the way home, I bought this big chocolate heart at the drugstore. It was on sale cheap, because Valentine's Day was over. I figured I'd wait a month or two and then give it to Lee. I'd just have to find the right moment. Something like April Fool's Day or Roald Dahl's birthday. She'd appreciate the irony. I still felt bad about that time when I told her I couldn't talk to girls. Which, with a couple of exceptions, was really the truth. And I felt bad about the time I'd mentioned the dance and then got worried she'd think I'd asked her. Mouth stopped by my house late that afternoon. When I saw him on the porch, 1,000 excuses raced through my mind. You can't come in. My mom's pregnant. I have homework. It's late. My dad's taking a nap. But he didn't ask to come in. Here, he said, holding out a couple of dollars. What's that for? I owe you this. Remember, for lunch? Oh, yeah. I'd forgotten about it. I figured he'd spend another 15 minutes describing the whole event. But he just said, thanks, and left. Mom went on a baking spree right after dinner, making brownies from scratch. Then she made hot fudge sauce, also from scratch. By that point, the kitchen smelled amazing. She sent Dad and me out for vanilla ice cream. On the way, I couldn't help thinking about Mouth, who'd asked every girl in sight to dance, and me, who'd never asked one. "Did you date a lot in high school?" I asked Dad. "No, I was kind of shy." "You?" I knew he had to deal with a stream of people all day long at work. "Yeah, I was the tallest kid in my class." From my perspective, I couldn't imagine that being a problem. "Bobby's real tall, and he dated like crazy, even back in middle school." Dad shrugged. "I think there's more to it than height." He pulled up to the store and I ran in for the ice cream. "You aren't shy now," I said when I got back to the car. "I don't have a choice," he shrugged. "That's part of growing up. You do what you have to do." We brought the ice cream back home, then sat around the kitchen table and had dessert. All four of us. It was a nice way to end the long weekend. I ate 3 helpings, proving that when you're young, you also do what you have to. After Dad and Bobby had slipped out to the garage, I helped Mom stack the dishwasher. "That was great. Thanks for baking." "It's what I love to do." She went over to the table and sat down. "You look tired," I said. "I just don't seem to be getting enough sleep." "I know the feeling." She patted her stomach. "I guess I'm sleeping for 2. If you figure out how to sleep for 3, I think I can make us both rich." That made her smile. She reached out and put her hand on my arm. "If I could, you know I would." "I know." We sat for a while. I could hear the sound of tools against steel in the garage. I looked at Mom's stomach and couldn't help thinking about my overstuffed backpack and all the schoolwork that lay ahead of me. "I guess we're both carrying a lot more of a load than we're used to," I said. "But not more than we can handle." Tuesday, I rode into the parking lot with Wesley, thinking that at least I had a short week ahead of me, and worrying about how I'd do on my algebra test. A couple of minutes later, I forgot about all that stuff. I could tell something was going on because everyone was talking in little clusters. I tapped a kid from my Spanish class on the shoulder. "What's up?" "You know Chuck Peterson?" "Sure," I said. Not well, but my gut twitched at the thought of bad news. "Did something happen to him?" "No, but his mom works in the emergency room over at St. Mark's. She was just leaving when they brought in a kid from town." "Who?" "I don't know. All I heard was suicide." "Oh, crap. You don't know anything else?" "Nope." I raced to another cluster. "Anyone know who it was?" "That weird kid," someone said. They all nodded. That weird kid. When I heard those words, I almost forgot how to breathe. Lee had been depressed all week, and she was always talking about death. I ran through the halls trying to spot her. What if I'd given her the Valentine's present already? Instead of waiting, would it have made a difference? What if I'd actually asked her to the dance? I raced to our homeroom, but she wasn't there either, or at her locker. She must have changed the sign yesterday. All I saw was a big question mark. I knew she walked here from Hamilton Street, so I ran out the front door and headed that way. I spotted her half a block from school. I was so relieved. I could even talk when I reached her. "Trying out for the track team?" she asked. "I'd say you run like a girl, but that's a sexist attitude." "You're okay?" I asked. She glanced down at her body, poked herself in the stomach a couple times, squeezed her shoulder, then looked back up at me. "Apparently. Shouldn't I be?" "I heard some kids talking. Something about suicide." I could hardly bring myself to say the word around her. "You moron," she glared at me. "You really don't know me at all." Then she smiled and put her hand on my cheek. "It's sweet you were worried. Most people would probably prefer me dead. No chance. I have a zest for life, and far too many unread books."